So the Garda conference, the yearly conference of superintendents and sergeants, is happening in Kerry at the moment. The Minister for Justice is there. And the main pretty much the main topic of the day was the Gardaí call for action for citizen journalists filming officers on duty. Now, the law states that the Irish law, and any law pretty much in the Western world, states that you can film on the street freely. Obviously, if you go into the Garda station, into the changing rooms and stuff like that, obviously you can't do that. But what I'm trying to say is, if a guard's on the street, the same as I'm on the street, people can film. There's nothing to stop them. It's a public place. As long as the guard's in a public street, a public place, a public building even, may I say, you should be allowed to record to your heart's content, to the cows come home, pretty much. There's nothing really they can do unless they amend the constitution to make it pretty much that nobody can do anything on their phones, pretty much. So, and again, especially if you're a member from Garda Síochána and stuff like that, you should not be worried. And again, I know the Gardaí is saying that people are going for their personal information, their family information, where they live and stuff. People shouldn't be doing that, of course not. Again, the Gardaí, the men and women from Garda Síochána are only doing their job. And I know some people would disagree with the Gardaí. I often disagree with them immensely, but you shouldn't do that. Again, but I'm saying that the Gardaí shouldn't have any, particularly when they're in public, should have no right to privacy. What I mean by that is, when they're on duty, they shouldn't have their faces covered and stuff. They should be pretty much visible in the public space. And if citizen journalists and stuff that cover news, take for example Newtown Mount Kennedy, we've seen what the Gardaí done in Newtown Mount Kennedy, in bussing people in the middle of the night and stuff like that with no OT or nobody around. That's what we need. We need citizen journalists showing what the Gardaí are doing, what the state is doing too. But at the same time too, we have to respect people at the same time too. What I mean by that is not to be mindful, I suppose, too, of people's comfort. I suppose is not in the law, but I suppose it's courteous, may I call it. That's probably the word, of courteous of people, of members of the Garda Síochána too, etc., etc. But this is the thing: if the Garda are doing nothing wrong, there should be no issue. And again, as I say, if somebody, take for example, if somebody's recording the guard, and the guard says to this person that something they don't like, right, or something they don't agree with, and then the person goes and finds out where they live or whatever, that shouldn't be tolerated, of course. That's the same as anybody in society. You can't just go around finding out where people live and stuff like that, turning up to their house or anything like that. You can't do that, and I think the majority of Irish people would agree with that. But if you're on the street and you're talking to a member of Garda Síochána, there should not be an issue recording the guard. And again, this is just a wider thing too. They're trying to stop people recording on Garda Síochána. That's the main thing here behind it all. Because a lot of encounters of a Garda Síochána recently, we see it online and stuff, people are very upset with Garda Síochána because the way they're behaving at the moment is not a police force. It's pretty much, it's not policing by consent. What I mean to say, that's the whole role of Garda Síochána, is policing by consent. Nowadays it seems to be makey uppy laws, pretty much, whatever goes, pretty much. We have seen time and time again throughout the year Gardaí in court for corruption charges, for abuse of power. We could write the book. The amount of Gardaí that's suspended is the highest ever in the history of the state, I think it is, for different incidents and stuff like that. It's insane. And again, we need this in society, because if there's because again, a video recording and stuff like that is evidence. Like if something happened, is evidence to suggest that something did happen, compared to saying hearsay. This Gardaí hit me and this happened and then that happened. But without your video evidence, where's your proof, I suppose, let's put it that way. And it's a good thing the Gardaí have body cameras too. I will say that's a good initiative, of course, as long as it's not facial recognition software and stuff like that. But I think this is the main agenda of the government, to stop the Gardaí being filmed from doing again, a lot of it, in some cases, they're not upholding their oaths to the Irish Constitution, to the law of the land. So this is just a whole really pretty much to try and usher in this law to stop people filming the Gardaí in public place. And again, you're allowed to film in the public place. You can film to your heart's content in a public place. But again, as I always say to people, be courteous. If you're in a public place, like as I always film when I'm in a public place and stuff, I'm courteous to people. I don't want to be in people's way or annoying people, I suppose, that's the way. And I think that's just the way of it. But again, it's not the law at the end of the day. If you hurt somebody's feelings and stuff like that, that's not the law. Unfortunately, it's nice to be kind to people, of course, but at the same time, it's not the law. It's simple as that. But if we go like that and make uppy laws, we might become a lawless society at that stage, because there has to be laws, there has to be set in stone, and particularly the right to film, the right to speak in public, etc., etc. Is pretty much God given right. Nobody can really stop you doing it. Again, of course, there's some red lines and stuff you can't cross. Of course, that's the same with everything. There's some, you take for example, there's a funeral and stuff. You can't just barge into the funeral with a video camera and video the people crying and stuff like that. That would be inappropriate and stuff like that. There's obviously red lines. Let's put it that way. Another offence too, take for example. But I find this very very suspicious, I suppose, from Garda Síochána. I don't trust them, what they're trying to do here, because they're trying to stop people from videoing them. And again, a lot of them must be guilt too, and I know they're saying about people following them up online, etc., etc. People shouldn't be doing that. I've said that 100 times now at this stage, but it's just basic things. You shouldn't be doing that. If somebody's doing their job, you shouldn't be following them up, who they are, where they live, who's their family, who they're married to, their children and stuff. Nobody should do that. But again, if you're in a public place, and I can't emphasise this, if you're in a public place and the guards in the public place, you can film to his heart's content. Because if the Gardaí don't want to be filmed, they should hide in the guards' barracks, as it was that. And I think it gives a good function to the Gardaí too, that they know that they're being filmed and stuff like that, and they behave a bit more better in a lot of cases too. But anyway, let me know what you think. I know some people disagree with me, and that's okay. That's a democracy. That's free speech. That's society. That's democracy in society. It's good to have a discussion, but the Gardaí talking about this behind closed doors in the GOA. If they're ever going to do something like that, they should get the public, because again, it's policing by consent. That's the whole role of Garda Síochána at this state. It's policing by consent. It's not by force or by will. It's policing by consent of the Irish people, pretty much. And unless the Gardaí have the public's trust, the whole Garda Síochána does not function, pretty much. What I mean to say that, because that's the whole thing, is the keepers of the peace. That's what the Gardaí mean in Irish, and Oscuelia, and that's just the thing. But again, I could say many more things, but I'm sure we all agree on what I'm saying. But the rights to film in public, nobody can take that away, pretty much. But anyway, let me know what you think, because again, it's important to have a discussion about it. It's important to have a discussion in society on it. But to be totally honest, I wouldn't give the Gardaí an inch on this, to be totally honest. Maybe in certain circumstances, for example, just the ad before I go. If there's an accident or something like that, obviously you just don't go up with a video camera and video the Gardaí lifting people out of take for example an overturned car or something like that. I know, take for example somebody was knocked down and stuff, you just don't take out your camera and start filming that. It's understandable, them kind of things. But if the Gardaí just interacting with members of the public on the street, they're entitled to film it. But let me know what you think. Subscribe and one bye.